Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is a special short screencast-o-matic presentation, which is basically going to cover the first half of the warm-ups for Cycle 5. In this particular presentation, we're going to be looking at the first half of the warm-ups, but please realize that you are to type down the question and the answer in a different colored format on the template provided on Google Classroom. Remember, later on, there's going to be another presentation that'll help you fill out the second half of the cycle accordingly. Let's go ahead and get started. From Monday and Tuesday's lesson of 1026 and 1027. What issues and topics do Amendments 11 through 27 cover in the U.S. Constitution, and why do they matter? So if you remember from the lesson, we did cover all these amendments, and there were 17 of them after the Bill of Rights, and they were incredibly diverse and eclectic. In the main, here's what some of these amendments seek to cover and some of the issues that they seek to solve. So basically, before we get started with the specifics here, please know that these provisions were added from the years of 1795 to 1992, over the span of like 200 years, guys, due to different circumstances that came in and out of the country. Basically, some of these amendments deal with the right to vote. We see different types of demographics were given the right to vote over time under different circumstances. Some of these amendments also have to deal with the voting processes, like how voting is done specifically, how certain practices change over time, and how, of course, the process ought to be done in our democracy. Additionally, the provisions set forth from 11 through 27 also deal with issues of citizenship. Different groups of people were given different rights to citizenship and access to rights over time, so understanding that story is crucial. And also, these amendments deal with the workings of our government, of course. Different rules that apply to different elected officials and government processes. Understanding that is really important to being a functioning citizen of our democracy. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, customs and practices are really important to understand too, like the different provisions dealing with citizenship, actions, and privileges. So as you guys can see, Amendments 11 through 27, although easily clustered together and often forgotten about, sadly, do matter, I would argue, just as much as the Bill of Rights to the Constitution. Let's go ahead on to the next question of the day and give you a corresponding answer. From Thursday and Friday, 1029 and 1030, what role does the law enforcement play specifically with the Constitution, and why is understanding law enforcement and their respective roles in society important? So as you're aware, this is the day upon which we are having our members of law enforcement talk to the class in a special Q&A forum, which is basically going to cover the role of law enforcement as they apply the laws of our country into their everyday jobs and also for our everyday lives. But why does this matter? So in the main here, law enforcement are basically activities of some members of government meant to enforce the law. You can look at law enforcement as police or cops, but the umbrella of law enforcement is actually quite big and dynamic. Additionally, the role of law enforcement is to use the Constitution and other provisions to keep the peace in our society and maintain order. Not only that, law enforcement have functions that they carry out too every day. They act with justified force when necessary on a variety of different issues. Another function that they, of course, take up is that they engage with the public about concerns or reservations to avoid law infractions and violations. Another factor here of their job, if you will, is, as laws have changed over time, so too has their job directly. And, oftentimes that is the story not told. We often think about how our lives change directly from law enforcement, but that's something to consider, guys, that their jobs change too. And a final factor for you guys to consider is the fact that, due to climate of the police and civilian dynamics today, I think it's actually ever more important to understand how to communicate, how to collaborate, and how to cooperate with law enforcement at all times. Understanding them in this way can help us understand the law. And when we understand the law, we understand our relationship between law enforcement, the law, and ourselves. So I do look forward to participating with you guys on the Q&A forum. And I hope that you enjoy it as much as I know other classes in the past have as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to giving you the questions and answers here in due time. Take care, everyone.